part 2 of our Alpha Model 124th Mazda RX7 build. So, picking up where we left off last time, we've got our photo-etch discs, which we're scuffing up with some Tamiya 3000 sponge. Just give it a bit of a worn look and take the sheen off it. With a bit of Bob Smith's gold, we're going to glue them in place to the hubs. Remember, we sprayed these in part 1. So, let those to dry for a bit, put them to one side. Once they are dry, we can give them a panel line wash. We've done the same to our wheels as well, which is sprayed in Pro Scale Antique Gold in part 1. So just get the enamel base wash on the lacquer paint, let it dry. It takes about 30 minutes to dry. Wipe off the excess, and it'll add a bit of depth and a bit of detail to the parts. It makes them look a little bit less monotone. It just adds a bit of depth and realism to the parts. On the discs, it'll go into the brake grooves, and again, just add a little bit of interest and a bit of depth to the parts. Wipe it off with Sansador, odorless mineral spirits, and you're good to go. Steering wheel, we've assembled all the photo etch. It's just a resin part with photo etch on the background, and then we glued it in place on its steering column, like so. And then once we've done that, there's a little tiny boss that fits over the top. There we go. Make sure our wheel is straight and we're happy. Center console, we've got a little dab of Tamiya Craft Bond, and our gear stick can be placed in like so. And again, we can pop this to one side to dry for a bit. And then we've got some speakers to go in place on the door cards and the rear section of the rear seats as well. So a little tiny bit of Craft Bond again. Make sure you get the appropriate side lined up. Drop it in place, give it a light push down, and there we go. You can remove any excess glue with a moistened cotton bud. Now, like I said earlier, we've not only carboned we will carbon that rear section that's missing carbon out of the kit. We're also going to do the backs of the seats, and again, nothing in the kit for the seats, which it's a real shame. So we've got some of the Zoom on carbon fibre, which again we've recently got in stock at Pro Scale. And we're going to roughly cut it to size and then offer it up, and I'm going to shape the top roughly to sit in place at the top of the seat. So just a slight curve. And first time round, I got it pretty much bang on. So happy with that. We've marked the length. There we go. And then we'll pop it in our water. Let it get moist. And then once we've got off the backing sheet, we can line it up with the top of the seat where we curved it, and offer it in place. Now it's going to be a little bit too wide, so we're going to trim as much off. Now what we're going to do is get the edge of this part where the seat kind of folds around in itself. There's kind of a natural seam there, and then we can patch it later on with the side pieces. So this is the easiest way of doing it. Now you can use masking tape as a template and try and do it in one go. I have done it before. It's tricky to do. For me, this is the easiest way. Get this piece in, get it all set in place, burnished down, heated up, all conformed and set, and then we'll put the edges up to the side and just overlap it ever so slightly. Heat works wonders on the decal. Any carbon fill reacts well to heat. Just heat it up and burnish it down. You'll find it settles in all the recesses, and we can get the edges burnished down. So yeah, real shame with this. You get some really good carbon for the kit, and then there's some fundamental pieces missing. I don't get it at all. I mean, the backs of these seats are blatantly calling out to be carboned. So why not give the carbon in the kit? I don't understand that at all. I really don't. But anyway, adapt and overcome. We'll do it ourselves instead. So with the back piece in place, we can now test fit the side. So again, I've cut a piece roughly to size, then adding a kind of bend to it roughly where I think it needs to go. We're just going to make sure the other piece is burnished down, and we're just going to pop a little air bubble in the back. There we go. And then we can line this up. It looks good. Get it in the water. And then lay it in place. We're going to hit it with some heat straight away to get it set in place. Then we're going to burnish it down with UMP decal solution. This will be the normal again. Then we're going to trim the bottom. And then burnish it all down so we get it set in place. A little bit more heat. A little bit out of focus. Apologies there. It comes back any second now. Any second now it comes back. We just cut it along the edge of the seat with a fresh bladed scalpel. So I'm just using the ridge on the back of the seat as a guideline. There you go, you can see me now. And there we go. We'll pull that out, and then we'll burnish the edges down with our brush and our fingers to get it all fully burnished down. And there you go. That to me is probably the easiest way of carboning the seat if you don't have pre-cut carbon. Get the centerpiece in, then do the sides one at a time, and yeah, you won't even really see it. The backs of the seat are very rarely fully visible, so you're pretty good to go. Apologies for the strobing light. I've not got my light on full power, and the LED refresh rate interferes with my camera a touch. But we're going to get some brake caliper decals down on this. And again, if I remember right, I don't think there was any decals with the kit, so I just used some Brembo decals I had in my spare decal box, which is, it's happened a couple of times just with the Alpha models. You don't get caliper decals. Real shame. Interior, though, we've got the info screen on the in-car entertainment. And then we've got the dials and what have you as well. Quite a lot of dials on this. So take your time. Some of them are especially small. But just standard decal procedure. Get them in, get them mushed out from behind, and hit them with the decal solution. There's a little logo that sits on the dashboard as well. Get it lined up nice and straight. There we go. So, not a bad interior on this one. As I said in part one, Japanese interiors to me are always a little bit bland. It's just the way they are. But overall, not a bad interior. Fairly easy to model. Yeah, not too bad at all. Instrument decals going in place. Like I say, there's several of these. So it's going to pop them all in. There's some very, very small ones, so take your time with those. You can see them on the sheet there. They're a little bit tricky to get set in place. Some precise tweezers, like my Sizo tweezers here, absolutely essential for doing this. And there we go, some UMP decal solutions to get them all set in place. And there we go, another job done. That is those all set in. We've got a little bit of a vent to go on the top. Is it a vent or a speaker? It could well be a speaker. I don't know, but we've got a little bit of PE mesh to go on the top. And then, of course, a little bit of Bob Smith's gold where the steering column sits. And we can glue this in place as well. There we go. That's our dashboard done. Finally, we've got the decal. It's actually one of the reverse stickers for this of a Mazda logo. This was especially tricky. Planning backwards, or forwards rather, I should have put this on first before I mounted it, because it was a little bit tricky to get in place. So it's basically cut the sticker out around its plastic sheet, pop it in place, burnish it down, then peel the plastic sheet off, leaving the metallic sticker behind. And it was just a Mazda logo. Interior, this has all been flocked by my wonderful assistant Hannah. This is ProScale anthracite flocking over Revel matte black enamel paint. Really simple to do, and the effect is absolutely stunning. Looks really, really good. So we've got the accelerator brake and clutch pedal in. On the back, we've got the speaker grill, which I've rolled using my sponge in front of me, sponge sander and the green micro brush, just to roll it and conform it. There we go. Now, seatbelts. I especially bought some 2mm green ribbon for this car. There is the hardware with the kit, and I thought, okay, we'll have green belts. I got halfway through making them, looked at them on the red seats, and did not like them at all. So I put them back in the box and got some Edward black seat belts, the photo-etch kind. Now, as in the last video, I've not filmed me making them because it'll just take up like probably 20 minutes of a video showing how to make them. So I'm going to show them at the beginning and complete, and I will do a standalone video. The next time I use the set, I'll drag out all the footage and make a complete video of it. So this is it. We've gone with black 4-point. I think the black's going to look good on the red. I think the green would have clashed and just looked horrendous. That was my personal choice. But these sets are not bad. They're about £5-6 a set. And this is like my second time using them. And yeah, I actually quite like these. I was a bit skeptical at first. Somebody did recommend them ages ago too, and I was like, no, definitely not using those. And then tried them, and yeah, they go on absolutely brilliantly. So it's a case of cutting all the PE off, follow the instructions, which look a little bit daunting to begin with, but it's actually really simple. Trim all the photo etch off the fret, get it right nice and flush. And then yeah, just follow the instructions, bend them. The pieces bend in really easily. You don't really need any glue at all. They bend and hold themselves in place. Yeah, nice and simple. And there we go. There's a completed belt on both seats. So like I say, I will do a standalone video, I promise. It'd just take too long and it wouldn't be worth showing small bits. I'm better off showing it all in a video so you can all see how it's done. So we've got the center console glued in place now. We'll put a bit of generic super glue in the mounting holes on the seats. We can pop those in, make sure it's pressed fully down. Now at this point I was thinking, where the hell am I going to mount those harnesses to? And then I put the back seat in and it pushed them right up against the base of the seat perfectly. I was like, okay, there we go then. We don't need to mount them anywhere. They've kind of mounted themselves. So a little bit of wiggle, a little bit of CA glue, gets those in place. And like I say, as soon as I push on the back seat, the harnesses sit right up underneath them at the bottom. Job done. Quick test fit of the interior, seeing how everything looks. We've got our strut brace in the back as well. And yeah, everything fits in there really well. I think the black, the dashboard, getting it wrong. The anthracite flocking and the black grey leather is going to really contrast well against those red seats and the red body. So I think it's a perfect combination. Now, if you remember the review, this piece was a little bit wonky, to say the least. It doesn't really want to fit in place. So I'm going to cut it off its paw plugs. Now, notice this piece not bent to shape properly. It sticks out too far. It needs bending. It's also short. It's actually short when I put it on the car. So I kind of had to adapt and overcome this by painting a little bit further than I needed to on the back, but we'll come to that in a little bit. So if I pop this in place, you'll see when it's on one side, it's way off the other. Now it does bend round, and a little bit of glue probably would have held it, but I wasn't happy with that. So the heat guns come out. We're heating it up nice and slow, not going too mad, until we just get a bit of a bend in it. I've marked a finger there exactly where I need to bend it. So you don't need to go mad with the heat gun. It's a case of in place, bend it, have a look. So it's taking a bit of the stress out of it, or a bit of the bend out of it. So it just needs a touch more and we'll be good to go. So the heat gun's brilliant for this. This thing gets that hot, it will actually bend sprue. It will literally bend sprue, it gets that hot. But for jobs like this on resin, it works perfectly because it's nice and gentle. And there we go, that thing fits in beautifully. Just needs a little bit more of a tweak on one edge. There we go. I think that'll do. So like I said, it is short. It doesn't fit in there perfectly, which is a real shame. So, options on this one. I opted to spray it smoke. I was looking at a lot of them, and they do appear to be smoke. So, the panel behind will be black. We've got smoked rear glass, this piece here. And then there's some photo etch inserts for the actual lights, which we'll then put in some Tamiya acrylic clear. And you shouldn't see anything in the black in the background. And through the smoked lens, you'll just see the lights. And that's how the real car looks. At least the one I was taking my kind of inspiration from. So yeah, painted that, left it to dry. And here we are. Now this was a section in my At the Bench update, a Patreon at the Bench update. I just thought we'd have a quick look through. So the body looking absolutely fantastic. These are the cases I store all my builds in. If you want a link to these, let me know and I'll drop you a link. But the interior's there. We've got all the parts painted up. The body's looking absolutely fantastic, and it's not even been polished yet. It's looking amazing. Just giving it a quick polish up. Yeah, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Not even been polished or sanded back yet, and still an absolutely beautiful body. We've got all our brakes made up, our interior's made up. We're literally ready for some assembly. All I'm waiting for now is for this body to fully dry. I leave 7 days on 2K for it to fully cure, and I think we're about day 3 here. We've carboned all these parts, and these have been 2K'd as well, and they're looking wonderful. Brake discs are ready to go. Dashboard, you just see me assemble that. That's looking really good. Calipers have been decaled and cleared as well. Wheels looking beautiful in gold. Very nice colour combination. And the interior, the seats look great. The black belts look great. The anthracite carpet looks phenomenal. Yeah, really nice kit, this one. I'm glad I went with the black harnesses. I think green would have looked too much, personally. I know green Takata belts are kind of synonymous with JDM, but for me, I think it would have been a little bit too much. The rear light fits in place nicely now. Once glued in, that'll look good. Like I say, a bit of a shame it's short, but just one of those things. And I'd love to know at what point I lose my mirrors. I can't tell if they're in that metal box. It looks like they are. But at some point, I've gone and thrown them out. And we don't even realise yet, right till the end of the build. But thankfully, I keep lots of spare parts and we can rectify it. So at this point, we're literally waiting for that to fully cure. I reckon we're about 4 days into the build. And we've got another 3 days before we can polish that. Right, so something I've been developing behind the scenes is a hot violet, blue, and pinkish red that I can use for heat staining effects and for anodized parts. So you're going to see heat staining in this video, and in the Nissan RR33400R, which is the next video we build after this, you're going to see me using for an anodized part. So these are more diluted paints than usual from ProScale, i.e. they're a lot thinner, and these are used for effects. So I've got the violet here. You can see the colour on the pipette. It's a beautiful striking violet colour, and because it's nice and thin, we can get it right where we want it, which is on any restrictions, end pieces, or pieces where I would think would get really hot. Now, whether this is accurate to real life, I don't know. I'm just doing this as kind of a test. So I've done this before. We did it on some of the bikes we built ages ago. I also did the hot metal effects on the Ferrari, part 2 of the Ferrari I think it was, using Alclad, which you can no longer get in the Alclad brand anymore. And I thought, you know what, I can develop these myself. So I have, and here they are. I think the result I get here is pretty good. Like I say, it may not be accurate to some, but for me, it looks like a heat-stained exhaust, and I'm happy with it. So we've put the violet on. We're now putting the blue on. And what I'm doing is I'm putting the blue next to the purple as a kind of gradient, and then we'll put the red next to the blue. And it'll look as though it's got hotter as it's gone. So you can see we've got a really nice effect already. That's looking really good. And this is, I think this is the red now. So we're just putting light coats on. You can see the heat stain it's got. Now the great trick with this is, at the end of it, you can mist over the base colour, which was ProScale Titanium Silver, and it'll blend it all in. Get rid of it all if you wanted, or you could leave it like this and have it heavily heat stained. Now I didn't want that effect. I just did this to show it on camera what it looked like. And I'm going to blend it all together later on as we go. But I think there's a heat effect. Looks really good. I'm very happy with that. So I've got a little bit more blue because I want to do the tip of the exhaust just a touch more blue. So the great thing is you can keep going over, keep changing it. Just don't forget, if you do buy these, they are on the site now. They're under the hot metal names. They're not for painting cars. They are for effects. So they're for heat staining or anodized look over silver, because it does give a beautiful anodized finish look. And there we go. I think as a heat staining kind of exercise, that works quite well. Like I say, is it realistic? Probably not, but it shows how the paints can be used, and I think it's a pretty decent effect. So I've got the titanium silver now, and what I'm going to do is put a couple of very light coats over the top just to blend it all in. So I want to just be able to see the heat staining without being too OTT. And that's about it. Just a couple of light coats just over the top. And like I say, if you want to, you can start all over again, and away you go.